I'm John Skinner, and this supports Chapter 3 in my book Striper Pursuit, and you can learn more about the book at striperpursuit.com. So I've done a few videos about the 6-inch Tsunami Talking Popper. This is actually the 5-inch model, and it's the XD version, so it's a little extra heavy for extra distance. So the previous video that I did was under pretty warm conditions. It was actually filmed 2 weeks prior to this one, and it was very warm and humid out. Even early in the morning, it was temperature was close to 80 degrees. But what's happened here is we've got the first real cold snap of the season. And on that first video, I was fishing the backside of a storm, and that was a good trigger to get the fish going. And in this case, we've had 2 consecutive nights where the temperature went down into the upper 40s, and that very often, especially mid to late September, when this is, will get mullet moving, and mullet are an excellent bait fish that will often spark some action along the beaches. Now, I'm not usually very picky about colors. I think white's a great color, yellow, any type of natural color, chrome. But when I suspect that there are mullet around, I will definitely be leaning towards using blue plugs. And in this case, the mullet that I'm referring to are actually in like the 4 to 5 inch range. So that's why I've chosen a 5-inch blue plug. It's a really good match for mullet, and I'm not seeing a lot. There's just a few in the water, but you know, I'm seeing some, but there's probably a lot more that I'm not seeing. And I've got a feeling that the presence of the mullet helped spark a pretty good bite this particular morning. So as with the last video, I end up losing a fish on the first cast, but that's okay. There's plenty of other ones around. So what you'll see on this trip is 35 minutes of fishing condensed down to 21 minutes. And it's 35 minutes because that's how long the bite lasted. It started just before sunrise, went a little bit after sunrise, and I know it was 35 minutes because I looked at the timestamps on the videos. And once I got past 35 minutes, that was it. It shut right down, couldn't even raise another fish. And it's just one of those things that a lot of times you've got to be on the beach early, and if you're there a little bit after sunrise, you know, they're just not feeding. So most of the fish that I'll catch on this trip are going to be schoolies to small keepers. However, if you jump ahead to, I think it's 15 minutes and 55 seconds into the video, I do have one that's about 20 pounds, so I got one nice one out of it. You can see it's like nobody on the beach. One truck further down, actually 2 trucks down on the other side of the point there, and it's a weekday. There hasn't been much going on between the passage of the last storm and this cold snap. It's been relatively quiet, so there's just not a lot of effort on the beaches yet. So if you notice, when I showed the picture of the plug, it had 2 treble hooks on it, and the plug actually ships with a single hook on the tail. And I'm not a big fan of open eye hooks, and one of the reasons is sometimes when you're unhooking a fish, it's possible that you might bend that eye a little bit. So I just feel a lot more secure having solid rings on there. So I take that single hook off and replace it with a treble. In this case, I'm using 6X strong 2.0 trebles. I think you'd be fine with the 4X strong 3.0s. I've actually rigged a couple plugs each way to see what I like. So far, I like having the 6X strong hooks. I never have to worry about them straightening. If you notice there, I didn't throw as far as I could. I made a short cast, and that's because I'd had a couple hits in closer. And a lot of times, you get bluefish on the ends of the cast, and the bass tend to be closer. Not all the time. It's no hard and fast rule, but if I'm getting some good blow-ups halfway out, I'll shorten the cast up a little bit. I don't have much narration to do on this video. I'll just add a few things as I go along. Oh, you see that black thing in the wash? I got to cut that thing out of there. It's like this huge heavy rope, and I keep thinking I'm going to get it out of there, and I don't get around to it. I guess I'm going to have to get snagged on it, and then I'll do something about it. I don't know what it is. It's really long. Alright, so I'm not going to narrate too much. One thing that's worth seeing, it's going to come up in a couple of minutes, is something that has never happened to me before in many, many years of surf casting. And that is a shark's going to come into the wash right in front of me. And we're going to get a so-so look at it. I don't think I'm going to be able, or anybody's going to be able to tell what kind of shark it is, but it was quite a surprise. So that's coming up in a couple of minutes. And like I mentioned, about 16 minutes in, there is a 20-pounder that I get on the plug. So I have crushed the barbs down a little bit on these treble hooks. It makes it a little bit easier getting the hook out of the fish. And as long as you keep it bending the rod, you really don't have to worry too much that you're ever going to lose a fish because you've crushed the barb. You'll actually get better hook penetration, and it certainly makes it easier on hooking the fish. And boy, if you should make a mistake and get a hook in your hand, you'd be appreciative that the barb is crushed down. At times, especially later in the video, when I've got some fish hitting close, depending on what kind of device you're watching this video on, you'll be able to see the fish repeatedly blowing up on the plug before I finally hook them, and that's a lot of fun. This is like, probably my favorite way to catch fish is on top water like this. Actually, I just lost. There was a decent bass that blew up on that plug, and I had him for just a second, and decided to keep the plug going here, and then surprise, I get a fish in close, and it's not a bass, it's a small blue. So there goes my theory of fishing in close to avoid the bluefish. This is the closest any of the fish hit, and it's a small bluefish. It's right after the next fish that you'll get to see that shark in the wash. Whenever you catch a bluefish, it's a good idea to do exactly what I did there. Just run your fingers down the leader. Make sure it didn't nick the line. They have very sharp teeth. If they nick the line and you get a nice fish on, you lose everything. So even though these tsunami talking poppers don't look exactly like a traditional pencil popper, that for me is the best way to work them. And I've got other videos on my channel where I go into details about working pencil poppers. Pretty much I'm cranking extremely slow. That's why it's taking quite a while to get from the end of the cast to the beach. And I've got the line between my thumb and forefinger, pumping that rod back and forth. Puts a nice dancing action on the plug. And the reason I've got the line between my thumb and forefinger while I'm reeling is that when you're pumping the rod like that, you could introduce loops of line onto your spool, and that could cause knots. So it helps control how the line goes onto the reel. And you'll be able to see that in some of the clips. You'll see my hand, while I'm pumping the rod, you'll see my hand kind of high up on the rod, well above the reel. Okay, so the limit is 28 inches. This one's definitely over. I don't keep them, but if I wanted to, this one would be legal. So I made sure I watched that fish swim off just fine. Now I'm going to keep the video running here just to let you see how long it was since that fish went in, because when I go back to the edge of the water, that's when we're going to see this shark. And I really don't think, hello, checking the camera for stuff getting kicked onto it when I'm unhooking fish. I really don't think the shark came in on that bass. I have to wonder that one bluefish hit so close to the shore, and sharks love bluefish. You know, maybe it was chasing a bluefish in. But it's going to happen here. Watch underneath my rod after I make the cast. It's going to be brief. Right there it is, right there in the wash. I have no idea what kind of shark that is. I've watched it again on the video. It was a decent size. It was definitely more than 4 feet, because 4 feet is like a 40-pound bass, and it was, you know, definitely longer than that. So that was quite a surprise to see. And I know, you know, if you're fishing in Florida, that's a common thing, but well more than 40 years in the surf, I've never ever seen that happen. And you know, they do get sharks off these beaches during the summer when the water's warm, and mostly at night. But boy, to see one come right into the wash like that was quite a surprise. Okay, I'm done narrating. If you hang in there for about another 4 minutes or so, you'll get to see that one larger fish and then a few other fish besides. Okay, I hope you found this useful, and if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to my channel.